Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The media here has its own orders, which is focus on certain issues that are ordered, therefore ignoring everything else that happens. In this case, the media in the West focuses, when they talk about Russia, mostly on the war in Ukraine. And Putin kills left or right. We all know that he is the bad dude and so on. The problem is there's much more news coming from Russia that occurs in Russia and involves Russia internationally than the little piece of news these guys are giving us. War in Ukraine, Russia, Putin bad. That's it. Sometimes they come and say, well, they threaten this. Sometimes they mention BRICS, but very in passing. And that's about it. Now, we had here Putin delivering his State of the Nation and address. So he comes over there and he is going to make many points that the Western media will not touch. They will say, which I already covered in 2 of my videos, Russia is ready for a nuclear war if the West deploys troops, not fighting troops, troops in Ukraine. Pay attention to this one. The Westerners are saying fighting troops, but the Russian says, no, troops. If you deploy troops, they never said deploy fighting troops. No. This guy tried to make it that way to make us think, oh, so it's okay if when we deploy just troops to take care of, civilians, building infrastructure, medics, and so on. Okay? No, that's not okay. Because that's not what the Russians are threatening with war for. This is it. Now, I will have here a list. I will read from Sputnik. Putin's main points during his State of the Nation address. And you're going to see how much it has to do with Ukraine. But these guys are going to pick only that thing. That's it. That's all that matters for them. They ignore everything else in the game. It's like you look at you fight someone and you look only at his, let's say, left arm. That's all. Oh, left arm. He's got so many other things to use, but nevertheless, that's why these guys are just naive and weasels. All right, here it is. Russia, Sputnik. West wants to drag Russia into arms race, Putin said. Well, okay, that's obvious. They think, you know why? Because these guys here, they were fed this narrative. We, the West, we outspend the Soviet Union, and that caused Soviet Union's collapse. And everybody is, jerking off on this little song. Well, the problem is that is one little part, small part of the whole reason why. There are bigger parts than that, much bigger and more important parts. And did not spend it. The Russians were not starving, let's put it this way. I know that for a fucking fact, okay? I lived in Romania. Romania was much worse than the Soviet Union. And anyway, it was an understanding, that's why it was, between these guys and those guys. That's the big picture. And then the little things related. Now, let's go back to these guys. So, Russia says, West wants to drag Russia into arms race. They already know it. Will they do it? I don't think they need to, because why? Lately, if you don't remember, I tell you, they started modernizing and limiting their military. Not, oh yeah, what are you talking about? They brought more troops now. Wait a second. They're trying to modernize and not make quality instead of quantity. That should have been the better wordage. All right, let's see what else this guy says. So the annual State of the Nation address delivered by the Russian president typically includes announcements that are crucial for the country's future performance. So in 2023 address, Vladimir Putin stated that Russia was suspending its participation in New START and provided an update on the progress. Okay, well, let's go to the today. Putin finished his speech. Okay. Putin on the role of the state. The state's true purpose is to help people, Vladimir Putin said. Defend their rights and help people? A little bit. We need details on that one. Help people do what? help people fulfill their full potential, but not help them, okay, I'm going to take from these guys, I'm going to give to those guys. No. I disagree with that one. But anyway, next one. Right, role of the state. It says Putin announced that at least 700 billion rubles, $7 billion, will be earmarked for funding the data economy national project over the next 6 years. Next one. Technological sovereignty projects will receive priority budget funding. Vladimir Putin on Russia's technological sovereignty. Science serves as the cornerstone of Russia's technological advancement. Technological sovereignty projects should become a driver for the renewal of the Russian economy and industry. BRICS share in global economy purchasing power parity to rise to 36.6% by 2028, surpassing the G7. Russia's strategic nuclear forces in state of full readiness. This is what the Western media took. This right here. That's all they took out of that. That's it. You say, well, that's the most important. Yeah, but don't you want to understand the dynamics? Anyway, in order to understand how strongly a guy can punch with the fist, do you want to understand how much training he undergone, how he trains, with whom, what kind of partners he's got in sparring, not only the capability, how is he using it, in what kind of techniques, what kind of combinations, and so on, what's the timing, the speed. No, they just, they have this big, they're gonna hit us with this one. All right, garbage. Next one. Russia to become one of the top 4 world largest economies. Putin noted that during the first 9 months of 2023, investments in Russia jumped 26.6% amid a planned growth rate of 15%. Now, I don't know if all this is true. This is what he claims. In light of this success, he emphasized the need to maintain this momentum and continue moving forward at an accelerated pace. It says Russia is on track to becoming one of the world's 4 largest economies in the near future. Are these guys going to say anything about it? No. Why? It's not in their interest for us to know that. Saying, what do you mean? We thought that their economy, that's how they said when it was about the invasion of Ukraine. The Russians have an economy of the size of Italy. Okay. Now they don't talk about it. Why? Well, it catches up, it seems like. Last year, the Russian economy turned out to be faster than the global average and outpaced growth seen in G7 states. Well, that's kind of normal when you are developing versus a country that's out there. Their growth is smaller than the one who catches up. We know that one. The Russian economy is becoming a more pop. Next one. Putin launches Youth of Russia National Project. This should be a project for the future and Russia's future. Yeah, like the Americans do. BRICS share in global economy is growing while G7 positions are on decline. Last year, the Russian economy was growing at a rate higher than the global one. He said on the measures we pulled ahead, not only the leading European countries, but also all the countries of the so-called G7. All right, next one. Russia chooses life and traditional values. You will not hear this in the United States of America, that he said this. And if they say about life and traditional values, they will mock it as being backward and all that. The enemies of our people, you know who those are. The West deliberately destroys the norms of morality and the institution of the family, while Russia chooses life and traditional values. Russia will end the war, eradicate Nazism. Clear? Russian troops are confidently advancing, liberating new territories in the course of the special military operation. And I'm quoting, as I said many times before, these guys are not kidding. Oh, I don't want you. Russia will end the war, eradicate Nazism. That's kind of like, we're going to eradicate terrorism, we're going to fight terrorism forever. Anyway, or be safe, 100% safe. Take people's citizens' guns, no more shooting, another imbecility. Why? The criminals will have them and achieve all the objectives of the special operation. So they're not backing out, backing off. Russophobia blinds West, depriving them of reason. Putin. One of the reasons is not, Russophobia comes not from the West. It comes from the guys in charge of the rest of the West, and there are weasels of obviously in the West that gladly participate for a position somewhere up in the government. Russia continues to develop democracy. Russian-style democracy as American-style democracy, British-style democracy, German-style democracy. But it seems like there's only one country on this planet that tries to impose its flavor of democracy to everybody else, forgetting that actually they have two parties, which are only one. Right? From two, you turn it to one. That's what we got. But hey, our democracy is the best. Look how great it works right now with Trump. Illinois barred Trump from running primary in Illinois. One judge. So the judge can stop that. Yeah, there's democracy for you. I want to vote for Trump. Let's say I'm in Illinois. I want to vote. No, you can't. Why? A fucking judge. Hey, we can call it racism, but we will not because it's the other way around. Okay. Don't call it reversed because it is what it is. Anyway, but if I were to use the same imbecilic argument, these guys every time is this versus this, it's because of that. Yeah, that's look at the people who barred Trump, and I want to vote for Trump. Let's say I'm in Illinois. No, you can't. She said no. Okay. All right, now let's move on. Russia will continue to develop its democratic institutions. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday. I don't like when they say will continue to develop democratic institutions. I think we will continue to develop the institutions of democracy. Well, democracy is good to a certain extent. After that, it turns into something else. Look what's... the Americans are always ahead of everyone else, it seems like, in good and in bad. And I'm talking about Americans, the government, okay? Putin said in his annual address, West says that Russia is supposedly going to attack Europe. This is nonsense. Yeah, I said this many times before. Who's coming towards whom? And if these guys are coming towards Russia to deter Russia, then can't Russia do the same thing? Advance towards the Western Europe to deter the Western Europe? And if not, why not? Oh, I tell you why. Because we identify as good and they identify as bad. This is what our owners tell us. So if something is good for me, why can I say the same thing is good for someone else? So if I'm advancing, which I did with NATO, to Russia's border, you go closer to a criminal, you stay away from a criminal. If you can, create a buffer zone or something, no, we're gonna come closer. So who's the criminal here? I guess. If someone comes closer with a knife towards me and I have also a knife, what am I supposed to think? That I am the guy who's getting closer to threaten those guys, or those guys are coming towards me to threaten me? Well, if they're the good guys with a big knife, they're the good people. And if I'm the big guy and the bad guy with a bad knife, because the knives can be used for good things or for good things or for bad things. Anyway, well, this can be in self-defense too, so you can consider that as a, West wants to drag us into arms race. Dangerous actions and statements of the West in foreign policy threaten a nuclear conflict and a destruction of civilization. He tells it clearly. And I'm quoting, everything they, West, are coming up with now, what they are scaring the world with, all this really threatens a conflict with the use of nuclear weapons, which means the destruction of civilization. The president said, ruling elites of the West are openly hostile against Russia, yearn for country's strategic defeat. Yeah, what can I do? With their how do you call it, perverted infantile lives that they get, they have a kick if they show up at in Kiev and they're shown destroyed tanks. They don't get wet about it. A little hard-on click, and that's it. Oh my God, I've been in a war zone, baby dolls. Let me tell you here. Yeah, tell us, Uncle. Yeah, what's that, man? With a glass of bourbon and a Cuban cigar, and these are the makers of our world, by the way. More statements by Russian President Vladimir Putin. The West says the Russians are allegedly going to attack Europe. This is nonsense. The West is choosing targets to strike Russia. It is necessary to seriously strengthen groups in the blah blah blah. Russia's strategic nuclear forces are in state of full readiness. They're ready for what? For what? West 6, a compliant, dying, deteriorating entity where one can act with impunity. I agree with that. Why do you need a strong partner when you can have a weak servant? No? You don't want a strong servant. It might overthrow you. And a strong entity will not agree to being a servant. The moment it can, it's going to cut your throat off. Russia will always remember its fallen heroes. Overwhelming majority of Russian citizens support special operation Putin. The decisive role in the righteous struggle today belongs to the Russians, the president added. Russia proved it can face any challenges. Correct, they fight about 30-some countries, and it's still not dying. On the contrary, Putin says he will discuss strategic goals in his address. And Putin delivers his So, those were the points. Now, after I read this, if you are still with me or you left a long time ago, just contrast this with what the Western media or your media will report about what exactly Putin said. In all this, if I would have to make it, let's say 100%, I think the war in Ukraine was maybe, I would say 20%, and these were the big ones. I don't know how much he lingered, because in a, let's say 2 hours time span, if you lingered 5 minutes on all these, let's say 20% of the subjects, and the rest of, I don't know, 1 hour and 55 minutes on the rest, then yeah, there were some topics that he went over quickly, and then he lingered on other achievements or threats or whatever. So this is it, my friends. As I said, go and contrast with what these guys are vomiting over us about what he said. I always like to go to the source. I don't like other people really to interpret, let me paraphrase what you said, and this is what all you need to know what Putin said. No. This is what he said. And you have a brain, you have a heart, you have some balls, and to think for yourselves. But no. They have to make you think how they want you to think, and hold the ideas that they want you to hold. Anyway, good luck, my friends. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.